Hi everyone, my name is Tatiana Gomez, and this is a quick video explaining materials in ELT. So for this video, we're going to go through what types of materials are adequate for ELT, and also the principles that we have to keep in mind when developing material for this kind of context. So the first thing is taking a look at what types of materials we should include or develop in our lessons. First of all, I think impact is one of the most important ones. We want to strive so that our material can create impact in our students. Enough impact so that they can be able to want to keep learning and keep studying about this particular topic. And if we choose the right type of material, I also think that this can lead to a natural learning process where they're involved or they're invested in the material rather than the actual learning. So it becomes like very natural. Now, besides being impactful, it should also be relevant. Right? Topics, interests, age, all of these things can come into play when talking about the type of material that will be successful in a specific teaching setting. So making sure that it's relevant for our students will be essential. So again, we can create that engagement in them. Not only relevant, but useful. Now, the fact that it's useful will help your students have a genuine interest in the material. Additional to this, and the idea of these three things actually is to create engagement in our students. When we're able to create a high level of engagement, they are going to be interested enough to be able to not only use the material, but use it and extend the use of it, right? So that means if we use quite effective, relevant, useful, and impactful material, then their level of engagement will increase to a point where they can continue learning from this, right? Now, once we've seen this, there are also other characteristics that are important. And the first thing is that they feel at ease. The material that we develop shouldn't generate stress or any kind of negative impact on them or negative experience on them. On the contrary, it should help them feel at ease, feel that it's at their level, feel that it's adequate for them. And in that, helping them feel that, they'll be able to also develop confidence. So as they're using this material, if it feels at ease and it already has the previous characteristics we've talked about, but if it feels like they are at ease and they can actually use it, then of course that'll develop their confidence level, because now they'll feel that they can actually accomplish certain tasks or activities in this particular topic that you're saying. Now, if they do develop this level of confidence, it'll be easier for them or to facilitate the self-investment. Now, when we say self-investment, that refers to the student being autonomously invested in the topic and wanting to extend their learning process. So up to there, we've seen a little bit of how that material should be developed, characteristics like impact, relevant, useful, which will give us or generate high engagements. Then we've also seen what it should make the student feel. So they should feel at ease, they should be confident, they should facilitate and be self-invested. Additional to this we should look and strive that our materials are using the target language, right? We don't want to use just any kind of material. We want to use material that's going to help us key or identify or model the language that we are aiming that our students learn. So use of target language will be essential in this part. Now let's move on a little bit and see what kind of context we want. Another important part of the material that we use is trying to create authentic context. Again, if it needs to be leveled or if it needs to be adjusted, that's fine. But the authentic context will be essential so that students can be able to learn from natural settings, right? And if they're able to learn from a natural setting, then they have the use of the target language, they have it in a natural context, and this will offer natural settings for them to be able to use this language in an opportunity to communicate. So if we choose the right materials, then we'll be able to generate these opportunities, continuously, because then we're giving them the language that they need, the context that they need, and offering a natural setting for them to recognize or to learn this. Moving on to the next point, then, we have another important topic when looking at types of material, and it's understanding that we have to recognize the differences in our students. Now, these differences may refer to their learning styles, their attitudes, their interests, or even their experiences. But at the end of the day, what we have to do as teachers is be able to adjust or to differentiate materials so that they can play an important role in each one of these students, independent of these characteristics that they may have. So yeah, I think recognizing the differences and understanding that as you're planning is an essential part of the material selection process. Now, in all of this, we are looking for any kind of material that we choose with any kind of characteristic to generate a positive effect on our students, right? At the end of the day, that's what we want. We want them to have a positive experience, and that positive experience will lead to them wanting to learn more, right? And to feeling that confidence that we were talking about earlier. Now, the other thing is that we have variety in task types, so we should be able to generate a variety so that we can cater to all those differences that we mentioned before. And finally, another important point is that our classroom management should be relevant to this type of material. So for example, our classroom management should reflect correct instructions and interaction patterns to promote the engagement, to promote their interest in the topic. Now, finally, we're going to quickly look at the principles of second language acquisition and material development. The first one, it's basically summarizing everything that we've talked about, is making the material adequate but enriching, right? The fact that it has to be adapted doesn't mean that it has to be boring or out of tune with what the students want. It should be engaging so that students can be able to think critically and use this material to develop and communicate in natural settings. Again, it should generate a positive experience for the students so that they'll want to continuously learn. And we can make use of their L1 skills, their L1 language skills, so that they can be able to apply them in L2. And finally, we want to give them the opportunity to return and to continue learning. So these are some principles that are important in second language acquisition when developing material. I hope this was clear, and thank you very much for listening.